Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a special Reddit League video. We are doing a bit of an award show today. We are in the off season, so to speak, in between season 2 and season 3. So me and Calamity decided we would make some videos showing off some of the unique performances the players put up in season 2. So how are you doing, Calamity?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good as always. So we're going to start by just going through a few stat highlights, some simple numbers for you, and then give our selections for specific categories of players and how people did. So let's just start with the first stat here. The biggest win, Calamity.
Yep. Semi against Kompilu in week 4. That was Kyrgyzstan, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually... yeah, it was Kyrgyzstan. 19,000 points. Simi with an almost perfect score. Kompilu, they're giving up sort of after round 3, I think. So you could question its legitimacy, considering, well, the performance of Kompilu there. But we decided to give you the runners-up as well, not in any sort of fancy graphics, but just mentioning them. Probably the more legitimate biggest win here is Deep Fought against Steven 1986 in Division 4 on the same map, actually, in Kyrgyzstan by 18,663 63 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that 19,967 isn't Simi's score. That's how many points above Kompilu he was. So that's it's almost 4 complete rounds that he was ahead. So quite the win. But again, Deep Thought as well, 18. That's quite an achievement in the same thing, in the same map. And we all know Kyrgyzstan, so we don't blame him for that necessarily. So, the honor of the smallest win goes to Equinox, also Division 1, against Schluti in week 9.
117 points. Week 9 was worldwide map. Getting this prize is a bit difficult because you have to be just close enough to win, but not too close because then it's a draw. Runner-up for this category, Nitnarok against Zotomo with 123 points in week 5 in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, me and Schluti both a bit unlucky there. Where it was 100 points, right?
100 points is the cutoff.
100 points was the cutoff, so just barely outside of those. Yeah, so unfortunately, I am in the stats in maybe not the fashion I would have wanted, but still made up an honorable mention there. But yeah, there were quite a few draws too. So that's maybe worth mentioning is there were a lot of games much closer, but given the rules, they are officially draws.
Yep.
So
probably the most outstanding one to mention is the matchup in Sweden between Simi and Kevin Kroner, who both got perfect games there.
Yeah, Kevin Kroner really showing up on his home turf. Unfortunately for Simi there. Next, we have the largest score difference. That is how many points over the course of the entire season the players scored above the players they faced. Closed 24/7. Quite a number there.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Obviously a bit easier, I guess, in Division 4, but still he had a lot less games to do it. So getting plus 43k, that's like on average about 6,000 points, I think, 7,000 points, somewhere between there per game that he was up. And runner-up for that is Ice Pharaoh with, again, plus 43,003 points there. And on the other side of the coin, we've got Slovak Goalie with the highest or largest score difference in the negative sense with minus 58,615. And runner-up for that was Lenovo Sachs, minus 47,000 roughly.
Yeah, I guess I didn't clarify exactly what was the largest difference, but positive we were going for, because being the other side of it isn't exactly something to be proud of. But yeah, Slovak goalie, just a rough season for him in general. So he'll be looking to do better next time for sure. But, and then the smallest score difference belongs to Chicago Geographer, 528 points total over the season. So,
Yep, made that perfectly. Just slightly over the edge of 0 points. Runner-up here, Nidrock with minus 1,405.
But unfortunately for Chicago, that wasn't enough to keep him in Division 1. So he did drop down to Division 2 again, correct?
Yep, well, he didn't drop down again, but he dropped to Division 2, which he was in Season 1, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was he was the only person who got relegated with a positive score difference.
Yeah, but he was in the playoff, it's not the playoff, the relegation battle. So he did get one final chance to redeem himself, but unfortunately, geography challenges came out ahead on that matchup.
That actually, just to mention that, because I didn't take into account these matchups, any of the playoff matchups or deciders or anything like that for the stats, but that would have actually qualified for the runner-up for smallest score difference in a win, because that was 122 points difference. So 1 point closer.
Yeah. Great. The fewest kilometers off on average. So obviously some players were within 1 or 2 meters on any in particular guess, but overall an average per game goes to Mr. Blue, 77 kilometers on average.
Not the last time we'll see him in this show, I can tell you that much. Runner up there goes to me, because I had 138 kilometers on average.
Not bad. I think maybe not for why you two specifically got small numbers, but while those numbers may be smaller than some people might have expected, is because there were a lot of country maps, so there wasn't that many kilometers you could even be off to begin with, compared to like a world map heavy tournament or something.
I guess it depends just where you made your mistakes.
Yeah. And then the last stat we have for you is most aces, which is 5K in a round. It goes to its RC or Radu, 24.
Just for anyone who's now thinking, well, he had 11 games compared to Division 1's 9 or Division 4's 7 games. I did actually take the average there as well and compared it, and he still came out on top there. But yeah, 24 aces, pretty good. 23 for Mr. Blue and Giovanni, who are the runners up there.
Yeah, so very close with those aces. Why aces is an important stat for you all is that it usually shows how good a player is at pinpointing locations in a map, because they have to be within a very fine area.
Margin.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, margin or area, in order to get that 5K, especially in country maps where the game is less generous with those points. So it's also quite an achievement. So.
Also an important stat if you try to get bonus points for getting perfect scores, perfect games, I mean.
Yep, sure is. And it seems to be a trend with a lot of the competitions now that they're going to be awarding bonus points in one way or another to perfect games or perfect rounds. So it seems to be something the community is really in favor of trying to promote in games and reward players for.
Let's promote being good.
Yeah, true, but let's promote being extremely accurate, I guess. Yeah, not just good, but
being thorough with your pinpointing.
Yeah. Okay. We do have one more. We have the most efficient player. So the most points won in Reddit League with the fewest GeoGuessr points, and it goes to Patriots FTW in Division 4.
In this case, I know the stat is slightly skewed, because if you play less games, you have a higher chance to get more points for less GeoGuessr points, because the average, if you get 25k points, and divide that by 3 points that you can get. Well, you technically get 4, but you know what I mean. You get 8,333. So the more games you play, even if you play perfectly, just because your opponent will, on average, be better, you'll get closer and closer towards that line. So getting below that is just a bit luck dependent as well on how your opponent does. And you have a better chance of doing that the less games you have to play.
Yeah, that's true. So given the fact that besides Division 1, Division 4 had the shortest season, does go into his favor a bit. But still mathematically, he's still the most efficient player. So even if it is skewed in his favor a bit, but yeah, so that's not too bad. 7,574 points per Reddit League point is just over a round in order to earn each one. And it was definitely enough to earn him promotion to Division 3 next season. So congrats to him for that. Yeah. Okay, well, now we're going to move into some more open categories where me and Calamity had to make our own calls. The math didn't do it for us. And the first category we have is Best Promoted Player. So these are players who were in Season 1, got promoted to the league above them, and competed in that league in this second season. So Calamity, your pick.
My pick for that was Ice Pharaoh. For most of these categories right now that we're going to present you, there were like 2 or maybe 3 clear choices that you could have gone for. In this case, of course, as you chose there, Equinox. I'll mainly explain why I went for my choices over your choices, rather than why I went for my choice in the first place. Because comparing the two, Equinox had a relatively, let's say, mediocre average score or / total score. And what I looked at in particular was their positions in their division over the weeks. If we weren't playing in a 1v1. So, for example, if you had like the 4th highest score in your division in that week. And if you look at that, the average position of Ice is 5th, roughly, and Equinox is 6th. So there's an advantage there for Ice Pharaoh. Other than that, Equinox a bit more consistent, but more consistently mid-table, I would say. Ice Pharaoh had more games where he was up there at the top. And that's why I went for him.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that it was up between Ice and Equinox as to which one of them was the best promoted player. I went with Equinox mainly because he was playing in Division 1. He also was promoted not as the number 1 player, but as the number 2 player in Division 2. So he was, barely getting that promotion spot to begin with. And then he makes the playoffs. He didn't just, put up a decent season. He makes top 4 in the best division we've got. So more competition, I think. I think some of those scores and stuff that you mentioned, for me, was just more having to do with he's got 30 less seconds. He's up against better competition and whatnot. So I kind of tried to factor all that into my pick. But yeah, Ice was definitely my second for most of the reasons as you said. Then on the other side of that, we had the best relegated player. So a player who was forced to drop down to a lower league and see if they were able to reverse their fortunes around. And we both picked Giovanni or Stymphalics. Yeah.
Yeah, again, this was probably a close matchup between Giovanni and Radu. Radu getting the better position in the end in Division 2, so people might be thinking, well, why do you pick Giovanni then? But Giovanni had a higher total score, and just in general, he had, as I said, with the stats for between Equinox and Ice Pharaoh, Giovanni was better placed on average, had less of a deviation in his positions. So in total, it was just Radu getting a bit luckier with his matchups as the reason why he finished over Giovanni in the table. And then Giovanni kept his nerves and won his promotion game as well, which also factored into it a bit in my decision.
Yeah, pretty much. Radu had 2 wins against, I guess you could call them wins, against players who were yellow carded, which means they didn't even play their round. So he had a little bit of a kind of a buffer of 6 points there, where he didn't have to really compete as much as Giovanni did. But let's take a little bit of a closer look at his stats for the season. You can see that in the beginning, very, very rough start to Division 2. But then, as you said, definitely equalizes and kind of stabilizes towards the end, and including managing to win his promotion back up again. He had a perfect game along the way, very high score difference of over 30,000. Again, second in number of total aces, behind Radu, the other option for this award, so to speak. And average kilometers off 448, so not too bad at all there. Yeah, I think Radu's worst game was worse than Giovanni's worst game by a couple thousand. So
yeah, that's
another factor.
Possible.
Bit, so.
They were quite similar in their positions within their division, as I've said before. They both finished 10th in 1 week. That was week 3 for Giovanni, and I think it was week 7 for Radu. But then every other week, Giovanni finished at least 6th. He finished 6th once, 5th once, then 4th twice, 3rd once, and then had 1 second place and 3 wins. Whereas Radu had 2 wins, 1 second place, and then 2 second places, and then his best after that was 5th. So yeah, just based on those stats, slightly better season for Giovanni.
Yeah. But we will see both of them nonetheless in Division 1 again. So we're looking forward to that for sure. Our next category is Best Newcomer. So there were quite a few players. I actually probably should have counted all of them before I did this. But I think each division had 3 to 5 new players compared to last season. So there's quite a new crowd. Kind of a little worried at the beginning of the season how exactly they would fare in their divisions. But they did pretty well overall. And our best newcomer, we both agree, Mr. Blue.
Yeah, no big surprise there. I just counted, by the way, there was 10 newcomers from Division 1 to Division 3. I can't remember who is new in Division 4 off the top of my head. But yeah, Mr. Blue, with his dominant run through Division 2, he won 5 of the 11 weeks that he played, and only finishing 6th in week 5 was his worst week in Pennsylvania. And other than that, he never finished worse than 4th on a Division 2 seed.
Yeah. So we'll take a little bit of a closer look at his debut season stats here. For me, no losses. Didn't get a perfect game, 24,998. But besides that, a very good record. His average score, kind of unbelievable for me, at least in Division 4. 24,372 across every week. And Division 2 had a full season, 11 games. So he even had more weeks to try to maintain that average compared to other players. So, and of course, runner-up for the most aces. So,
you also have to mention there still that there were a lot of very, very good new players. Like M the Basement, Guelo Wizard as well, who both got promoted through Division 3. Hugo Alvaro finished 4th, didn't quite get promoted, but still, that's very good from him. Then Division 1, Schluti and Kevin Kroner managed to stay in the division, which in and of itself is pretty good for Division 1 as a newcomer. So yeah, quite a few people that did very well, but just no one who did quite as well as Mr. Blue.
Yeah, I mean, probably my runner-up would be in Division 4. I mean, Patriots, FTW, and Close 24/7 both won their subdivisions of Division 4, and they were new players. So definitely very strong for them. Even in Division 4, those players did really, really well. So it gave the more established players a run for their money to be sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, then our last category, kind of maybe the biggest award we can give. I don't know. Besides winning the whole tournament, is the most improved player, a player who really just impressed kind of throughout the entire season for us both. And here we disagree again. Calamity, Raidman for you.
Yep. The main reason why I chose Raidman over Ice Pharaoh, because both of them did very well. But Ice Pharaoh got promoted in first place last season in Division 3, so it's hard to tell for me whether he actually improved that much or whether this was sort of his level in the first place. But Raidman stayed in his division. He got, I think it was 8th in Season 1, and then went and got the highest score, second highest actually, total score in Season 2, like a couple hundred points, 200 or so behind Simi. Won the regular season, so to speak, going into the playoffs, and then went to the final against Simi and just slightly got edged out there with a 2-1 victory from Simi.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, Raidman barely hanging in there in Season 1, in Division 1 last time, but then climbing to the top was my number 2, of course. But Ice, he didn't place that high necessarily in his division, because he was behind people like Mr. Blue and Radu and Giovanni. But as you can see, when you're right next to those kinds of players who are getting a lot of the other awards we've been giving out today, he did very, very well. He beat Radu in his face-off. He lost to Mr. Blue, who had a perfect game against...
You mentioned earlier he didn't have any perfect games.
I can't read my own notes here. Who had his best game against him. No, it was a draw, right?
No,
maybe not. Okay, maybe I messed
Mr.
up
Blue,
my own notes
Mr.
here.
Blue played against Ice Pharaoh in week 6 on, I think that was a balanced world. Mr. Blue got 24, 480, and Ice Pharaoh got 22, 237. So I don't know what you're trying to say in your notes there, but...
Oh, was it the... Yeah, I don't know. I wrote something wrong. Anyway, so he one of his losses was to Mr. Blue, which you can kind of, after the season Mr. Blue had, you can kind of be like, yeah, that's to be expected of almost any player in the division. And a loss to L49 was only by a few hundred points. So, he did move up, did really well, but then also, even against the best players in his division, he put up some very good numbers. So for me, it was just, a player who just continued to climb and came up against some very rough opponents this season. But other than that, I think he would have had a good chance at even continuing to be promoted higher up. So
yeah, if he continues to put in the work that he's put in this season, I'm pretty sure he's got a good chance to finish in the top 4 next season.
Yeah, I think he's definitely someone to look for being promoted to Division 1 next season. If he, as you said, he keeps putting in that work, for sure. Who was relegated down? Chicago, Comte Bilou, and Verdock. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, Chicago and him, maybe with Tall and Paula, might be some big favorites.
Yeah, I think
of course, Calamity, you're in Division 2 as well. So maybe
I was going to say, I think you can't underestimate the players coming up from Division 3. Not only me, but Guelo is in the basement as well. Very good.
Yeah.
So I think Division 2, it was already very, very competitive this season, but I think it's going to get even more competitive next season.
Yeah. Yeah, and part of me felt like Division 2 was the most competitive of all the divisions. Obviously, Division 1 had the best players in it, but Division 2 had a couple more players. They had therefore a little bit longer of a season, and there was no playoff at the end. So the top 4 players in Division 1 got a shot at the title, but there wasn't anything really like that for Division 2. So But let's take a look at their stats respectively throughout the season. Average points pretty close, but Raidman edging it out. They both had perfect games. Ice Daru, though, does get that one ace advantage, and their records almost identical in terms of things. Ice, though, losing quite a few games on a knife's edge, and Radu pulling out a few ties to help him stay up in that higher position. So, yeah, well, I think that about wraps it up for us. That's everything we've got. Hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of these players' performances over the course of the entire season, and definitely might give you somebody to pay attention to and to root for in season 3. That's going to be starting in maybe a month or so, month and a half. Preseason should be getting underway. So we'll definitely try to bring you more content in the run up to season 3 for sure. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.